Hey guys, good morning. It's Drew here. Quick video blog. I am standing on the terrace of my penthouse today, and I wanted to give a quick video blog. I wanted to talk about Karl Marx, and I wanted to talk about why I believe that Karl Marx sucks. Okay? And here goes. Okay? The reason why I think that Karl Marx sucks is because he produces bad fruit. He produces bad fruit. That's the reason why I think that he sucks. That's one of the reasons why I think that he is terrible. Okay? There's a difference between intelligence and wisdom. When you have intelligence and when you're very knowledgeable, there's a lot that you might know. You might know a lot of information about a lot of different topics. You might be very well educated and informed on a lot of different topics that are worldly. But wisdom is about knowing which source of information to discard, which source of information to use, and when. Okay? Now, I'm well educated. And I'm well educated in terms of capitalism, in terms of spirituality. I'm well educated in terms of business and how systems should work. And being well educated in these things, in finance, by the way, too, being well educated in these things has helped me build a very, very successful life financially at the age of 35. 35 years old. I own a BMW i8 convertible, the Roadster. I own a Mercedes S550. I live in a penthouse with gorgeous views. I have a wonderful girlfriend. I'm building a wonderful family. So at the end of the day, I believe that a lot of the things that I've read with a combination of spirituality has helped me get to this point. Okay? Now, I'm not bragging, I'm not boasting, I'm just stating facts. When I look at the people who follow Karl Marx, I'm not saying that they don't have wonderful families. I'm not saying that they can't build wonderful things. But I'm simply saying that I've never met a socialist or a communist that has built a lifestyle in which they live in the utopia that Karl Marx or any one of their leaders proposes. And then people will say, okay, well, why don't you look at Chavez? Why don't you look at Maduro? Why don't you look at Fidel Castro? Okay, but if you go to those countries, they live like kings while all the people that they survey, all their subjects, live poor. I've seen capitalists make other people wealthy, myself included. I'm not a capitalist through and through, but I have capitalist tendencies because I run a company. So to some degree, I am a capitalist because I run a company. But my company has made other people millions of dollars. My company has employed other people and kept other people employed. My company helps people. I employ people and I pay them very fairly for their time. My employees work from wherever they want. They work remotely. If they're not available, they're not available. I treat them like bosses. Because I had worked. Let me put this straight to you. Because I know you're probably, since I don't like Karl Marx, you're probably going to categorize me as one of these stone cold capitalists who don't care about workers' rights and who don't care about people. You'd be wrong. I used to work at Cablevision. I used to work for factoring companies. I used to work for finance companies as a stockbroker. I used to work as a taxi driver. I used to work for sales companies. I worked every single place that you can imagine. On my way up, I was in clerical. I've done everything. Okay. And one of the things that I noted is that when I was least productive is when I was not happy as an employee. If I came there every single day looking for a way out, and God willingly I found it, and I found my calling and whatnot, but I went into my job looking for a way out all the time, not just because of the money, but because I also wasn't happy. I wasn't happy with the situation. I wasn't happy with the rigid schedules, the micromanagement. I was never really a fan of that. I've always been a person who had big ideals, who wanted bigger things, but I also have been largely self-regulated. I don't need somebody telling me, you go here, you do this, you do that, you do that. And I've learned from people in the past who have told me that, But today I don't need that. And I've always felt some kind of independent nature, and now I'm living it. In comparison, when I see the fruit that Karl Marx produces, I don't see that. I don't see that. I see typically, young men who don't want to take responsibility for their lives, don't want to provide for the loved ones in their life, or they feel upset that money, you can be judged as a man for the money that you have or don't have. You can be judged as a man for what you're able to produce and what you're able to provide, because women need to be provided for and children need to be provided for. So I see young men who want to dodge their responsibility. And so this philosophy appeals to them. This philosophy of everything is unfair and yada, yada, yada. But the women that they want to date, the women that they lust after, the women that they want, end up going for people like me. I'm not single anymore, so I'm off the market completely. But my girlfriend is a 5'11" beautiful woman that a lot of men want. And she didn't end up with some dude who doesn't produce results. Just to say, that's just an example. Okay? So my point is not to get on here and gloat and brag about my lifestyle. That's not the point. My point is to draw a distinction between people who follow capitalism and capitalists, and people who follow Marxism and socialism or communism. That's the distinction. Because I understand that not every single capitalist is going to have my morals. Not every single capitalist is going to have my ways of treating their workers or treating people that they work with or their associates or their partners. There are some people that are capitalists that are complete scumbags that will rip you off, and not really provide and so forth, and not really be good. I'm not saying all capitalists are great people and all Marxists are bad people. I'm simply saying that the logic of Marxism does not produce the results that its holders claim that they want. I've never seen a person with a socialist mindset or a communist mindset that has produced great fruit in their life. Almost everybody in their life is either in desire of more finances or more prosperity and can't get it, or is dependent and they just, they feel enslaved by life. I've never met a Marxist, I've never met a socialist or a communist that is doing really, really well in life and hasn't used capitalism to get there. I've never met a Marxist or a socialist that has used socialist, communism, or any of these ideals to get to success. I've never seen it. And the ones that I do see, the most prominent examples are typically living in riches and prosperity while the people that they are managing and the people that are around them are living in poverty. That's not the case with many capitalists that I've seen. Like a lot of the capitalists that I've looked up to are, Steve Wynn. I looked up to many different, Trump in his heyday, like when Trump was coming up. Robert Kiyosaki was a big influence. Tony Robbins was a big influence. Grant Cardone. I actually work, with Grant Cardone's brother today. I send Gary Cardone a lot of business for his business, Chargeback on 11. So I've seen countless examples of capitalists and people who are productive and people who are skillful, providing and securing and protecting those that they love. I don't see the same thing from Marxists. I see a lot of Marxists complaining online. I see Marxists creating destruction and division. I see Marxists tearing up cities and claiming that they want a better life for themselves and for their people, but never getting there. That's the problem with the ideology. And there's some people who are going to come to this video and they're going to be like, okay, well, you've never read Das Kapital and you've never read Marx. So how can you say you don't like him? How can you say ignorantly that you're not for him? The answer is simple, because look at the fruit that he produces. Look at the fruit that he produces. If you see a tree that always produces rotten apples, are you going to look at that tree and say, oh, I should plant another one of those? If you hire a builder or you hire a carpenter and they do shoddy work, are you going to invite them back? If you hire an accountant to do your taxes, and in the first year that they do your taxes, you get audited because they didn't file a certain amount of information, are you going to hire that tax accountant back? If you trust somebody, let's say you hire a bodyguard, you trust somebody, you hire a bodyguard, and they're unable to protect you, are you going to hire that bodyguard again? No, no. So here's the thing. I've studied I've studied a lot of different philosophies, but most of the philosophies that I study, that I want to study, are the ones that produce results for people. They're the ones that are ethical and produce results for people. Because there are some studies, there are some philosophies, and there are some ideas that produce results but are not ethical. I read 48 Laws of Power, and I can honestly say that in that book, there are certain laws of power that I'm not willing to exercise because they're not ethical. And I at one point in my growth, I was in search of power, more power, personal power for myself, and the ability to be able to know when power games are being played around me. But I could not apply all the laws of 48 Laws of Power because some of them are just downright unethical and they go against my faith. And to me, God's law is higher than anybody else's law. I don't care if I'm missing the laws of power because I'm serving God in my activity. It's okay. I will forego whatever that power can bring me just to follow God, because God is the highest power. And sometimes the things that are brought to you by following power laws, even though if the laws are unethical, sometimes the things that are brought to you are not even worth it. Like, just because you make money or just because you gain a great position through that power doesn't mean that it's worth it. Sometimes there's a double-edged sword. Sometimes there's a consequence for achieving success that way. So my point is this: I judge things by their fruit, by what they produce, and people to some degree. If you're the type of person that you're into this Marxism, you're into communism, you're into socialism, but you don't produce results in your own life, and you don't produce results for people around you, and this utopia that you're chasing, you have not produced it in your real life, I'm going to be hard pressed to listen to you. That's why I think Karl Marx is a joke, because the people that he produces, the men that he produces, the kind of people that read and internalize and try to practice what he writes, I look at them and they're not living quality lifestyles. They're miserable. They're unhappy. They're not living successful lifestyles. They're living lifestyles in which they are envious, which they are jealous, which they are unproductive, which they are lazy, and they always have an excuse for it. And their excuse for lacking in success is that they're smarter than you. They're more well-read than you. Come on. A lot of these people will grow old and die before they see their dream utopia of communism and socialism even pass. And they don't even realize how much time they're wasting. So at the end of the day, I don't support Karl Marx. I'm never going to. I'm not a hardcore capitalist. I care about people. I want people to succeed and whatnot. And I know that we live in a mixed market capitalist country. I know that in this country, you have to be productive. You have to provide value in order to succeed and move forward. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some people out there that flout the law and do things that are illegal and do things that are mean and messed up to other people, and they succeed. I'm not one of those people. And I think most people who provide services for other people, most small businesses who provide services and provide products for other people, are not that way. They just provide the product, they provide the service, and they just expect to get paid for their services. That's it. And that's really what capitalism is. It's exchange of goods, and then the market prices those goods based on values that human beings have. If you don't value it, you don't buy it. You don't spend your money on it. What's evil about the free market? What's evil about free will? Why does the government have to come in and oppress people's free will in order for these Marxists and for these communists and these socialists to be happy? I can make all sorts of assumptions and say it's out of envy, it's out of anger, it's out of depression, it's out of all these things. But the point is that I don't follow that ideology because it produces bad results. Period. Consistently bad results. If it produced great results, I might consider it. But if you look at the fruit that it produces, it's consistently bad. And that's why Karl Marx absolutely sucks. And that's all I got to say. Peace.